Hello, party people. What's up? How are you? So, we are going to talk about artist bios and artist statements and what should be in them and why that matters because we'll kind of lay this as a foundation for a lot of the things we do about getting shows. They're a big part of that. Hi, Macy. Hello. Thank you for joining. Missed you. So a lot of us probably already have an artist statement. There's only a few people in this group so far that are totally, yes, you want to say hi? Come say hi to people. Come on, you can do it. There's Andeline. She wanted to say hi to everybody. Hi, Dustin. Hi, Jenny. Here.
Jenny?
Yep, Jenny's there. Bunch of people. Say hi.
Hi,
Jenny. Okay. So if you don't already have an artist statement, that's okay. What I'm going to do is read through some of my old statements and kind of pick them apart and talk about probably how I'm about to change them because they're actually pretty old. So can I invite her? Honestly, Jenny, I'm not going to do that right now for the live. So if you could just show her this video. And so I have here an artist statement from, we're going to start with bios. I have one of my original bios here, and I'm going to read it to you, and it's not that great. So you can sort of pick apart and see which is that great. It says, Andrea J. Bruff was born and lives in Buffalo, New York, and the surrounding suburbs. She became interested in photography at 10 years old after discovering her grandma's 35mm SLR with telephoto lens. Andrea continued pursuing photography at the University at Buffalo and received her Bachelor of Arts in Photography in 2010. Now, almost 6 years since she began her technical studies, she has produced a substantial body of work and participated in several local and regional art exhibits. In June 2011, Andrea was awarded the honor of first place in the professional category at the Main Street Arts and Music Festival in Niagara Falls. Andrea has also arranged artist talks and organized and curated events. Okay, does anybody see any glaring problems with that statement? By the way, guys, like it, comment, ask questions. I'm sure you'll have more, so just plop them in there so I can get to them. So that statement is pretty old, and frankly, it's sort of just, it's a biography, but it's a little too, I don't know, juvenile. Why does this matter? Okay, people want to know about who you are when they're viewing your work. Oops. I don't know who's calling. And they need to know who you are, and they need to know about your work. They don't need to know a whole lot about like your personal life and things like that. This is just your bio. It should say things like, where are you currently based? And, you know, it probably doesn't really need to say where you were born or where you grew up unless it's really pertinent to what you're doing now. It needs to say what kind of mediums and techniques that you use, or what kind of art are you making? Why do you make this art? What your inspiration was to choose that medium, maybe over a different medium. Some of us are photographers. There's some painters in here, illustration folks. Why do you do that instead of one or the other? And then it should list and that first place ribbon I got. Yes, absolutely. You should be listing your education and your achievements in your bio. So that is important stuff. Biographies should be written in the third person. So yeah, you are writing it, but it really should be talking about you, not you talking about yourself. There's, if you're a part-time artist, don't mention that, like you need to put your all into this biography and make it, it's about you and your art, not about the rest of your life. Or you do that part-time or full-time or just as a hobby, people don't need to know that part of it. And then there's different biography, depending on what you're writing the biography for, it might be longer or shorter.
Look what I found.
Yay, awesome, you found it.
Everything, Daddy.
Just show 'em.
Short.
Here, come here. Show them. All right. Love you.
Love you too.
See ya.
Everything, Daddy Shorts.
Okay. So if you're writing it for a show, like we're trying to get together, it should be around 100, 150 words. It really doesn't need to be a whole lot, guys, not the bio. So I read you that first one. I changed the bio over the years, and I'm going to read you the second one now, and you're going to see the difference. Andrea J. Bruff came to this world in 1986 and exists mainly in Buffalo, New York. Right off the bat, terrible first sentence, okay? Too weird. You should put your personalities in there, but that one's a little too cocky and silly. She became interested in photography at 10 years old after a 35 millimeter SLR camera with telephoto lens. That sentence really probably could be cleaned up a little bit. And then it says, yes, that's right, film. Her love of both urban and sylvan environments has created a type of schism in her work, leading to the use of several different subject matters and styles. That's true of my work, but probably needs to be a little more concise. Andrea continued pursuing photography at the University at Buffalo, receiving her bachelor's in art and photography in 2010. She has produced a substantial body of work and participated in several local and regional art exhibits. Yes. In June 2011, she was awarded the first place honor of the professional category at the Main Street Arts and Music Festival in Niagara Falls. Andrea has also arranged artist talks, as well as organizing and curating an annual art and music festival in Sherman titled Queen City Sight and Sound. Okay, so I added another achievement, and then I talked a little bit more about, I'd like to see me talk a little bit more about my early influences. So I'm probably going to change that up some. Guys, you do need it. Most places will ask you for it, but it's not actually the most important part. The most important part is definitely this. So there's a lot of different reasons you would write a statement. We're going to talk about your overall artist statement. So this is and why you do it, and people want to know about it, because people don't want to buy art some sort of clear and concise backstory and ideas about their art. Pretty pictures are great, but they don't really draw people into that artist and why they should buy from this artist or that artist. Those are people that that you just go buy some Walmart art if if you don't know what the backbone of the artist is like. So for a statement, there's a couple of things you're going to want to pay attention to. So this is you talking about your art and why you make it. So you should really sort of map out, look at all of your art, your entire body of work from when you started making art to now, and see if you can find the overarching themes. Okay, each different project has different, themes or whatnot, but there's got to be something that keeps it all together, some reason that you make it, some particular style that you just love to work, a color that you love to work with, things like that. And then write down all of those overarching ideas. Thing to do sort of before you start your artist statement is to ask yourself a bunch of these questions. So number one, who is your audience? Because you're going to have, it might be for this project or this gallery or your overall artist statement. Then you're going to do, what are your influences? And just write this all down in your journal. How in your work to a child. So try not to get really wrapped up in big fancy words or long drawn out philosophical sentences. We'll get to that a little bit later. How would you explain your work to a kid or somebody who about art? Just kind of write some of that out, and you can always overcomplicate it later. How do you make your work? What specific techniques do you use that maybe other people don't use? And how do your materials influence concept? So what does that mean? So when I make digital photography in my camera, when I take a picture, that might not be a super interesting, thought out picture. It was maybe just a picture, like I ran outside and took a picture of the sky. But then I took that and I instead made a cyanotype out of it. Some of you may know what that is, some not, if you've seen my work. How does turning that image into a cyanotype, how does that reflect back upon the concept? So some people, if you're a collage artist, okay, your materials, literally your glue and your paper and your paintbrush and your decoupage and all of the little things that make you able to make your art, how does that actually influence the idea of your art and the content of it? Okay, maybe it doesn't at all for you, but for a lot of us it does. And then again, how is your work unique over and above somebody who works in the exact same? So those are a couple of things you're going to really want to hash out before you start your artist statement. Okay, only outline the necessary information. Try not to get really, really wrapped up in big philosophical ideas. You do need some of them, but just try to keep it simple at first. You can always elaborate later. So like, abstractions are like love, success, freedom, any isms, feminism, just try to keep those big ideas concise, okay? You need to have specific information in there regarding your abstract ideas, and I'll read you some of this in the examples in a second. So avoid jargon. A lot of people don't know the technical terms behind different painting techniques or different photographic techniques. They don't necessarily need to know how to make your art. You're not teaching them how to make your art. You're just telling them about your art. So try not to get too technical on jargon that only someone in your industry understands. You're going to write it with an active voice, and you're really going to feel into and use language that excites you about your work, because it's going to excite someone else about your work as well. Use a proofreader. This is something we're gonna probably send these back and forth. I'd like this to be a really open discussion, and we can sort of get some files sent so that we can all read each other's and give pointers, no judgment, and try to build each other's artist statements up to a higher level where we feel that it is a really good representation of us and our work, and that's going to help us get better gallery shows. So definitely proofread it, check for grammar. All this stuff is have to remain really professional in these two documents, because they're usually the first thing that someone sees about you other than your art. Definitely create different versions for different opportunities. Again, this gallery or this project is going to need a different artist gallery, or this project or this art festival. And it's definitely going to have elements, but be different than your overall statement. So remember, get to the point, include precise references regarding what your influences were, and what sorts of overarching ideas you're using. Get lots of opinions on your statement, and match your writing to your work. If your work is super playful, then maybe you're going to use some more playful language. If your work is all about stem cell research and how that influences your art, maybe you're going to be a little more serious. And don't put in any unnecessary jargon or personal information, really. You should, however, romanticize. Absolutely, you should romanticize. I am going to read you two statements now, okay? The first one is old and is not very good, and you realize that when you hear the second statement. Okay. It's a little long, so just bear with me here. This is my statement, probably from like, I don't know, 2008 or something. Most of my artwork uses human condition and emotion as subject matter. So right there, I talked about what my work is about, okay, in that very first sentence. The work is about people and their interactions with each other. It explores the ideas of social constructs, social environments, and the vulnerability of the human mind. Okay, that right there was my philosophy, but it was extremely specific. So we're going on a good path here. It gets a little here in the middle. My goal is to make the viewer relate to the characters in my work, whether or not the viewer has actually experienced the situation being depicted. Okay, cool. Most of my pieces, so then I'm going to talk about my process. Most of my pieces are in the form of a narrative series of 10 or 12 images mounted and framed. That actually might be a little too specific, and like nobody really cares about that part. I tell stories with my photography as if it were a film strip or silent movie. I frequently use a distinct visual element to staple each image of the series together, such as a specific color, a design element, or a recurring character. Fellow artists and professors have compared my work to that of Nan Golden or Cindy Sherman. Okay, this is where ask people about your work. What other artists does your work remind them of? Because you might not even know about all of your influences, but somebody else who has a great art history background can look at your work and be like, oh, that looks just like that other artist's. or similar to, or has a similar idea or feel or color scheme. And that way you can go research that artist and see if maybe there were some influences there that you didn't even know that you had. So this is kind of an important thing. I didn't know that I was like these other artists until people told me that. Although a good portion of my body of work is digital photography, I have experimented with many alternative processes and film developing. I relish my time spent in the darkroom. Okay, so that talks a little bit about my future as an artist and where I want to go, which is interesting and probably needed for an artist statement. So you're going to talk a little bit about where you were, where you are, and where you want to go. So this statement is old. I've definitely worked on it, and I still need to work on it. These are living documents, guys. These are going to change forever and ever. Hi, Shannon. Hi, Charlene. Hi, guys. Love it. Okay, so the newer statement is quite a bit better. My artwork uses human condition and emotion as subject matter. It explores the ideas of social environments and the vulnerability of the human mind. My goal is to make the viewer relate to the characters in my work, evoking an emotion-based reaction. Okay, so that right there is quite a bit different than the first paragraph of the last statement. And I think I'm probably just going to send these all to you guys and label them like old statement, newer statement, so you can really see how it's progressed. Conversely, I explore industrial landscapes in an effort to understand my environment in a historical context. By showing the beauty of these dilapidated buildings, I connect the viewer with the rich stories of a man-made past. Now I'm getting into some storytelling, okay? That's a lot more interesting than I go shoot abandoned buildings. I'm writing a story about what I do and why. So you're where you're going to get into the story of your work. And this is where we're all going to have to practice some of our language art skills and really play into the story, the characters. You're a character and you move through this life while making art, and we need to hear about it. Most of my art takes the form of a narrative series of 6 or 12 images. I frequently use a distinct visual element to staple each of the series together, such as color design or recurring character. So again, that's about process. So that is still important, still has to be in there, and try to make that piece as interesting as you can. As of 2013, so I'm talking about experience at this point. And so I'm not going to talk about, oh, I've been doing this for 3 years or 5 years or 7 years or whatever. It's as of whatever date, because that way that time just goes on and on. Okay. As of 2013, I am shooting strictly film photography. It adds the element of time to my photographs that I feel is lacking for photography. This talks about why I do something. This talks about the philosophy thing. This tells them about my process. That sentence right there, there's a lot packed into that sentence. The passage of time in loading the camera, composing and focusing the shot, and then developing and printing the final image can be felt when viewing my photographs. I relish my time spent in the darkroom. So this statement is, even though it has almost the same elements of the last statement, is infinitely better than the previous one. So you can really see how that changed over time for me and after many, many edits. So that's kind of it for now. Does anybody have any questions? Please, please, please like, follow, put some comments in here. For you guys that are going to watch this on a replay, please, all the questions in the comments. I'm going to upload some documents for you guys and compare them. I want to see yours. So I don't know, maybe I'll drop in my email here and you guys can send me them and we can talk back and forth about, you know, if it's already awesome, then that's awesome. If it needs some work, let's make that a conversation together. So I hope you all are having a fabulous day. And I know I know you guys have questions about this. So please, please, please feel free to message me or drop them in the comments, and I will talk to you guys soon. I hope that you love this, and you know, if you guys have ideas about what you want to talk about, please let me know. Okay, I hope everybody's being safe. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. See ya.